Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have any audio for this? I think we might. Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it's time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is the 24th of May, and it is a Tuesday. And my goodness, have we had trending markets today. Wow. This morning has, I don't know, the bus drivers must have had a meeting yesterday. But boy, I guess they decided they'd tortured us all enough for a while. But the indices, the U.S. indices uniformly are just, this is, if you watch different markets and you are looking at the correlation between markets and how they should behave together when they're playing well together, today's the day. It's just really, really nice. All four of the U.S. indices are just in lockstep and marching upward and onward. And then we're seeing exactly what you would expect to see. The bonds and gold will trade inversely to that. So they are all on a mission to go down. And bonds are kind of interesting because they have been trending down and trending down for several days. And then the Feds are talking about how they're going to, they're strongly considering. They have some wonderful terminology they use for this, but there's probably a more likely chance they will raise interest rates in June, they say. Of course, they've said that before, but so keep in mind when interest rates go up, the price of bonds goes down, and vice versa. So if they raise the interest rates, bonds could come. They're very high in these 60s anyway. But the Japanese yen has fallen off right along with bonds. It tends to trade in conjunction with bonds. So, and the Canadian dollar is almost exactly in lockstep with crude oil today. We have the VIX dropping off a little bit. It's right now it's trading 14.5, and Brent has fallen down a little bit. Let's see, we've got it's only about well, actually, there's not much difference between the Brent contract and the West Texas. Usually the Brent is about $1 and a half higher. But anyway, those are just little things that I kind of monitor from time to time during the day. I like everybody all playing together like they're supposed to, because when something gets out of whack, there's some reason for it. This morning, this 10 o'clock news, normally new home sales doesn't do too much. I mean, you know, I think everybody is pretty much in agreement that the real estate market in a whole has not been performing, you know, in a stellar manner like it was for quite some time, several years ago. However, this morning, when these numbers came out at 10 o'clock, it was remarkably higher. The forecast was 521, and it came out at 619. So that's almost 20% higher than what was expected, or more, I guess. Anyway, that sure gave this, I mean, it was already in an upward trend, but it sure gave it a boost. Keep in mind going into the afternoon, when things have trended this strongly in one direction, there's going to be some profit taking sometime before. It doesn't mean every contract and, it will be an equal move down. That's not what I'm talking about, because some of these contracts will be left on. Some of these players that, they trade, they put contracts out in at laddered points, and then they take them off the same way over a period of days and weeks, and sometimes months. But this afternoon, at some point, there will be some profit taking. And some of these bought contracts, once they start that, as more sellers come in, it tends to start it on a faster downward. It's kind of a momentum thing. So the crude oil, virtually all of this stuff has had really good apex entries today. Those E's have been excellent. So if you're not using the apex letters and you don't understand that, there's a whole little course on the website. But boy, in days like today, because what it does is when it gets in a trend like this and you've missed the first E, then you can wait and get either a sling or a touchback. But when the next E comes along, you can either add on to your position, or if you missed or got out because your profit target had been reached, then you've got another point to get back in. So I really do like the apex E's. And I think that's about it. Let's see now. Tomorrow we're going to have crude oil inventory. It's Wednesday, 10:30. That will be along. 10 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to have the Bank of Canada. It will have a rate statement. And that could also come in just before crude oil inventory. That might add to the inventory. The inventory is, this is going to be very interesting tomorrow, because they are taking, they're having a bigger drawdown in inventory because there's not as much coming into storage from Canada as normal. So pay attention to that at 10:30 and be very careful about taking a crude oil trade right at 10:30. That might not work out real well for you. There's some news at today. We had quite a bit of European economic numbers, but there's a little bit tomorrow, and then Thursday there will be too. So we'll just take one day at a time here and worry about tomorrow morning. We've got goods trade at 8:30, and then at 10 o'clock we all need to remind each other at 10 o'clock about that Canadian bank statement. So let's see, I've got a question here in the chat. Do I just trade the Apex E's? No, I just happen to love them. There are other entries, and I really would encourage you. I mean, there are so many ways to trade with Apex. It's incredible, and they are all extremely accurate. The problem is we don't all see the same thing in the same way, and so we strongly recommend that you pick one strategy and learn that thing. Practice it, do it over and over and over in demo until you understand it. You know what the rules are. You can recite them in your sleep. They're automatic. You don't even have to think about it. You know what it is. And then move on to another one and see if you like that a little bit better. A lot of us use, like for instance, I like the old Apex crude oil. This is what I learned on. So this 12-tick gray chart with the black bars on it, to me, is real easy for me to read. But I like C's for everything else. And if you notice, I've got C's on a 6-tick up here. But then I like the alchemy for a confirm, and it's easier, I think, to trail with this alchemy. And Lori came up with this brilliant idea of putting this 8 EMA on here to use for either a touchback or trail, and it's I think that's just a very cool thing. I really like that. So there's lots of different ways to trade this. It comes down to a personal thing. And then we've got a question about which one is good to start, which instrument, which system for Nadex. I'm going to let Lori talk about the system because she understands Nadex a lot more than I do, and she's far more experienced with it. Lori's and Chris is in here too. Not this Chris, but there's another Chris that is really good with Nadex also. For instruments, Daryl recommends, and I totally agree with him, that you start with one, pick one. Whatever, it depends on what is your trading time. If you trade in the morning, US, then maybe one of the US indices. If you trade real early in the morning or you trade in the evening, then you're going to want to go to currencies, because the currencies are more active in the evening. Keep in mind the world turns, and it's not the same time everywhere else in the world as it is here with us. But Daryl recommends that you have one index, doesn't matter which one, whatever you like, one index, one currency, and one commodity. And that will give you, if one's not moving, something else will. And the whole point of the kind of trading we do is that we need it to move. We don't care if it goes up and we don't care if it goes down, but we need it to go. So that, I hope that helps a little bit. And another question, do we trade pre-market? Yes, but not the indices necessarily. Sometimes, once in a great while, there will be some news that comes from somewhere or other, but keep in mind the volume doesn't come into those markets until the open at 9:30. So that may not work too well. But earlier in the morning, gold can move, and you're going to find in the summertime where gold is, crude oil is doing just about what it's doing right now. It's like the bus driver's pulled over the curb and he's got the thing in idle, and it's just sitting there. But in the summertime in the morning, between, around 6:30, 7:30, you can catch a good ride on the crude oil bus. And then the currencies pre-market can trade very well, because if you check the news, and there's a tab on the Apex website for you can get financial juice feed coming live through the Apex website, and there's a couple of different Forex Factory has a